Welcome back to part 2. Last part we created the base foundation. Now we're going to put it all in place and make it function. Before we get on creating the menu, we need another function, getInventorySize. We need to calculate that. I'm going to put it right down here. It'll be a public integer. getInventorySize. It's going to take in a page integer. And because the mob's inventory can have any amount of size, if the size is over 45, there's going to be a second or more pages, depending on how many more slots it has. So right here, int items index equals page multiplied by 45. Another int item amount equals items.length minus items index. Another integer length equals item amount plus 9, and a quotient, we're going to cast this math.ceil length divided by 9 and return quotient. So if the quotient is greater than 5, return 54. Otherwise, return quotient multiplied by 9. Now this function is going to give us an inventory size that scales with the amount of items each page is going to have. So for example, if there's only 3 items in one page, it's going to return an inventory size of 18. Now the item amount here is the amount of mob's inventory items we're showing for that page. And we're adding it by 9 because we're using those extra 9 slots to show the minion action items. Made a new class called petMinerMenu, and it's using the menu creator that I've created in a previous video. But if you don't already have a menu creator set up for yourself, I highly recommend watching that video. It makes creating menus a lot easier. A couple variables we're going to need: private petMiner goal, and private int page. And in the constructor, petMiner goal and a page. Okay, and in the super, goal.getInventorySize, you put in the page and whatever name you want for the menu. Now this.goal equals goal, this.page equals page. Now while this menu is open, I would like the player to be able to interact in their own inventory. So the general inventory click action, if the event is shift click or the event a .getClick equals click type double click, return. Otherwise, set canceled to false. And the set general drag action, loop through all of the slots of the raw slots. If the index is less than getInventory.getSize, return. Otherwise, set canceled to false. So if they click in their inventory and they shift click, or if they double click, that click action is going to be canceled. And this is so they can't put items in the menu and they can't take the items out of the menu by double clicking. We only want to allow the player to drag items in their own inventory. So if they drag an item into the menu, it's going to be canceled. Now we need a private boolean is air or null. It'll take in an item stack. Return item equals null or item.getType equals material.air. And this is just for ease of access. And another boolean, this one is optional. I'm going to name it too far. Living entity owner and living entity pet. Return owner.getLocation.distance pet.getLocation greater than whatever amount. I'll put 8 blocks. Now we can make the item click action. So private final menu click item click action, and this is going to be executed whenever a player clicks on an item from the mob's inventory. So get the item that they have clicked on. If it is air or null, return. And if the player is too far from their mob, send message, you're too far. Now get the items index and that'll equal to event.getRawSlot plus page multiplied by 45. And if goal.getItems.length is less than or equal to items index, then somehow an error has occurred. This really should not happen, but I like to put in here just in case. Now let's add the item to the player's inventory. So hash map integer item stack, call it extra, player.getInventory.addItem, and that'll be the item that we clicked on. Add an item stack extra item equals null, or map.entry an integer and item stack. I'll call this entry. From the extra.entry set, extra item equals entry.getValue and break. Because we're only adding one item, there shouldn't be any extra items in the extra map. Goal.getItems items index equals extra item, and we can set the item event.getRawSlot to extra item. Now time to update the inventory. So public void update inventory int items index equals page multiplied by 45, int item amount equals goal.getItems.length minus items index. Now we need to set all of the mob's items in the inventory. Invendex equals 0 for invendex is less than math.min 45 item amount. Invendex gets added to, and just set the item in the inventory index goal.getItems items index, and we can also put in the item click action in here, and the items index will get added. And the items index is the index of the mob's items, and the inventory index is the index of the inventory. Now we can get the size equals getInventory.getSize minus 9 for invendex less than getInventory.getSize, invendex gets added to. If the invendex is greater or equal to size, continue and set item invendex. I'm going to be using my item creator, and the action will be set to null, and if it is not greater than size, set item invendex item creator dot create black stained glass pane, and the action will be set to null. And now we're going to set the mob control items. Status index will equal size plus 4, and the other index will equal size plus 3. And I'm going to get a lore. If goal, if the mob is mining, and you can create your items however you want to. Like I said before, I'm going to be using my item creator. I'll just add click to order the mob to stop mining. Set item status index, and then the action is just going to be close the inventory and goal.stopMine. Okay, and else if goal.isEditing, I'll add to the lore click to order the mob to start mining the selected path, set item in the status index, and the action on this one will be the same, close inventory, but goal.startMine instead of stopMine. And then another action, I'll clear the lore and then add clear the selection and exit edit mode. This time set the item in other index, and in this one close the inventory and stop edit. And then the last action else, I'll add quite a bit to this one. Click to make a path selection for this mob. Make a selection by right-clicking blocks. The mob will mine in the direction of the first selected block. And now set the item at the status index, and like the other ones, close the player's inventory and go.startEdit. Oh, and the continue mine. And for the continue mine, I quickly added this getTargetList, just returns the target list. And if the goal.getTargetList doesn't equal null and goal.getTargetList.length is greater than 0, and add, click to order the mob to continue mining. Set the item in other index, and the action will be a very simple player.closeInventory and goal.continue mine. And this part is optional. This will make it so the player can set the mob's main hand, and for that I'll make a private item stack get default main hand. And this can be whatever you want. I just have it explaining to the player drag an item in here to equip it to the mob. And in here, item stack main hand, get the mob's main hand. If the main hand is air or null, main hand equals get default main hand, set item size +1 main hand, and the action will be pretty simple. Get the clicked item and then get the cursor. Now you need to check if the player clicked on this default main hand or not. I recommend setting a tag on the default main hand and checking for that. But for this example, the way I test it is if the clicked.getType is equal to material.limestained glass pane, then the player's cursor will be set to null, otherwise it will be set to clicked. And then set the item event.getRawSlot. If the cursor is air or null, default main hand, else cursor. And then goal.getMob.getEquipment, but set item in main hand, cursor. And now time to make the pages. If page +1 multiplied by 45 is less than goal.getItems.length, set the item size +7, and this will be the next page item. If they click on it, open up a new pet miner menu and put the goal and page +1 and open that for the player. Now if page is greater than 0, set the item and size +6, and in this one just a new pet miner menu and put the goal and -1. Before we move out of this class, make sure in the constructor put updateInventory on the bottom. We can now go back into the pet miner goal and add the event listeners. Okay, the first event handler will be the entity removed from world event. If event.getEntity equals mob, then clear all. And then the next event handler will be interact, player interact event. If the event player does not equal the owner, or edit mode is set to false, return. And we can really quick add a private long interact cooldown and back into the event. If interact cooldown is greater than system.current time in milliseconds, return. Otherwise, interact cooldown equals system.current time in milliseconds plus 50 multiplied by 2. What this is essentially doing is making a simple cooldown whenever the player interacts. 50 milliseconds is 1 tick. I just multiply by 2, so 2 ticks. And I'm doing this because if you don't have a cooldown, the interact event handler executes too fast, and so the player is not able to effectively set a block. So if event.getAction equals right click block and event.getClickBlock does not equal to null, if selected locations equals null, selected locations equals new array list, if indicators equals null, indicators equals new array list. And then get the location that we have just clicked, getClickBlock.getLocation, and then add that by 0.5 on the X, Y, and Z. This is to center the location. And then a simple select location, input that location, and then get the block place that we clicked. And then the last event handler that we need is a private interact entity, player interact entity event. And if the event player does not equal owner, or the event.get right clicked does not equal the mob, return. Otherwise, if the player did click on this mob and they're the owner of it, open up a new PetMinerMenu and put the page as 0 and event.getPlayer. And the very last thing that we need to do now is we can go back into our menu and create a getter function, PetMinerGoal, getGoal, return goal, and then back in the PetMinerGoal, make a new function, private void updateOwnerMenu, if menu.getMenu owner is instance of PetMinerMenu, I'll call that menu, and menu.getGoal.getMob equals this mob, then menu.updateInventory. And then from all the to-dos, all the commented out, we pass in updateOwnerMenu, and that'll be up here and right here. And don't forget, whenever you spawn a mob, you need to add it by bucket.getMobGoals.addGoal, the mob that you spawned, the priority. Higher priority means less priority. And new PetMinerGoal. Pass in the mob that was spawned and the owner and whatever inventory size you want it to have. Okay, so in game, I'll spawn a skeleton and I'll give it a netherite pickaxe. And you can see its inventory only has 3 slots. I'll set its path to go down. I mean, I can make it whatever I want as long as it's adjacent. So I'll do like a little, oh, I can only select that at a time. Tell him to start mining, and he'll mine in the order that I selected them in, as you can see. And then he'll keep doing this until we really can't. And I'll show you a little. So right down here I had another skeleton mine this pathway, so I could show you. If I spawn in whatever, I'll get spider, why not? Got 17 slots. I'll also give that a netherite pickaxe. And then if I put a wall right here, make a little wall right here, and tell the spider to mine in this direction, he'll mine. It's a little wacky, but he'll mine, and then as you can see, he'll stop mining because he'll only go 32 blocks this way, in the way that he was mining. And because there was air 32 blocks, then he just stopped mining. Now, where his path started, so he started around over here, and the blocks ended like about right here. So it only goes 32 blocks, so I'm just gonna assume like around here maybe. I'm not really too sure. But that's where his path ended. So if I continue mine, I'm not sure if that's 32 blocks or more. Nope. He's gonna go find it. And he'll start mining, but since the skeleton's mining, he's kind of just chilling. And I'll show you a blaze here. He has 76 slots, so 2 pages of inventory space. I'll give him another right pickaxe. I'll tell him to mine right here. Start mining. And I can pick up his stuff as he's mining. And this also works with enchants because we're getting the blocks dropped from his main hand. So if I were to enchant this with fortune, and first I'll give him a normal pickaxe, tell him to mine right here. Whoop. Stop mining. He got 2 raw iron. If I change that with a fortune 3, I'll take that iron out and set the path right here. He got 4 from 1 block break. And that is all for this tutorial. I've been working on my audio, trying to see what works best and what doesn't. So if you can hear any audio changes, that's why. But that's it. Farewell.